An epic comeback, arguably one of the most epic comebacks we've been able to witness from the Bulls anyway on the positive side, but an epic comeback all but to be let down with some poor execution down the stretch, and also the fact that the Pacers were finally able to get things going offensively and knocking down shots after they went on that huge scoring drought, or field goal drought I should say, between midway through the third quarter all the way to the 9-minute mark of the fourth, where the Bulls trailed by 25 points in the third. When it seemed like nothing was going well for the Bulls, shots weren't falling, the offense was flat, stagnant, turning the ball over, and the Pacers were making everything they were throwing up, to then the Bulls flipping the script, getting stop after stop, playing scrappy defense, bringing the energy level back up, getting the crowd back into it, pushing the pace on offense, and finally seeing shots go down to turn that 25-point lead into a 3-point lead for themselves. And in a game where you thought, there is no way the Bulls are coming back from this, to them, well, there is no way the Bulls are going to blow this after having all that momentum on their side. And of course the Pacers responded. They went on that 9-0 run themselves, hitting their threes again, and they never looked back. I will say though, and I've been refraining from saying anything negative about Billy Donovan recently just because he's been having the Bulls offense run so much better in these last 13 games or so, and you do have to give Billy a lot of credit for that. However, I don't know why he waited so long to take a timeout when the Pacers started lighting the Bulls up from three, just to even stop the pace and momentum. And I get it because the Bulls only had 2 timeouts left, and there were still 3 minutes left to go in the game, but at that point the Bulls were still in this one, a very winnable game that took so much effort to get back into. And I'm not going to say his decision to not call a timeout cost the Bulls this game, because the Pacers were just feeling it by that point and likely weren't giving up this one, but resetting, giving the guys a bit of a breather, changing up the lineup on the floor might have been in order. But either way, it wasn't meant to be, and the Bulls fall in a game that would have been a huge one to pick up in the standings against a recently struggling Pacers team who have been right next to them in the Eastern Conference. But here's the thing, the positives that I'm taking away from this game, and apologies because I'm likely going to make this video a little short, but the biggest positive from this one, despite the bit of a meltdown and letting the Pacers just clean them up at the end of the game, the fact that the Bulls didn't give up on this one when they were down 25 points in the third quarter, something the old Bulls absolutely would have done. The fact that they responded well to adversity, yet again, the fact that you saw guys like Patrick Williams, Dalen Terry, Dosunmu keep up the intensity and energy even when they were down by 20 to give the team some life and get them back into this game says so much about this team and their mentality, their determination, and just their overall identity. And I know I've said all of this before, but the fact that we've been seeing it consistently since Lavine has been out of the lineup says so much about this team. Now, the Bulls shouldn't have allowed themselves to get down by 25 in the first place. Like, let's not absolve them of any blame here. Their play at the end of the second quarter and halfway through the third was not good at all. The defense was average at best, and the Pacers were getting whatever they wanted, both inside and from behind the arc. I'll get to Andre Drummond in a bit, but a game like tonight is kind of case in point on what I talked about in the last game. As great as Drummond was and has been, I still question whether or not he can perform like this on a nightly basis and be a starter. Like so many people were talking about and advocating that Andre Drummond needs to be in the starting lineup for the Bulls. Get Vooch out of here. Drummond is much more effective. Yeah, it's hard to see Drummond performing like that every night. And the big reason is because of his ability to get silly fouls and find himself on the bench because he's in foul trouble. Never mind, I guess I'll just go ahead and start talking about Drummond now, because him getting in foul trouble, not finishing shots like we saw the other night, only enabled him to play 21 minutes in a game where he's effectively the Bulls' only center. And he also played very poor defense on Miles Turner. Miles Turner got whatever he wanted in the beginning of that game because Drummond was not closing out and letting him get wide open looks. Anyway, he still managed to get 16 rebounds in just those 21 minutes, but the Bulls had to go small tonight, and it hurt them when it came to going up against Miles Turner and Jalen Smith, who were just outworking the Bulls on the boards. But anyway, I guess I got a little sidetracked from the positives there. The other positives on the night, aside from the resiliency and getting themselves back into this game, Dalen Terry. Look, Dalen Terry is case in point why sometimes you just need to let these guys play. Give them meaningful minutes where they can learn from and develop, because Terry, oddly enough, was one of the most impactful players in this game and a huge spark in that comeback in the third quarter. Get this, he was a plus 28 on the night. The only player in the entire lineup that was a plus in box plus minus, and he was plus 28. And he did it with heart, hustle on both ends of the floor with some great defensive plays. Like, you look at his stat line, you think, all right, nothing that impressive here. 6 points, 3 rebounds, 3 blocks. But it was the energy and the pace at which he was playing, and a big reason for why the Bulls were getting so many defensive stops during that stretch. Billy Donovan had to bring him back in the fourth quarter because the Pacers started taking over after he took him out. just to see if they can get some run back into the game. And so when we hear about the future of the Bulls not being bright or them having one of the bleakest futures in the NBA, well, games like tonight, showing some signs of the younger guys and their future potential, gives me some hope at least. And then the other positive, Patrick Williams, 22 points, 9 for 14 shooting, 5 rebounds, 2 steals, played with purpose, with authority and command of the paint. Seeing Pat develop into a solid starter is yet another reason and positive to look forward to for the future for the Bulls. Because while he's still been inconsistent and at times still passive, when given the opportunity, when other guys are out, he's shown he has the potential and the ability that we've all been hoping for. DeMar was DeMar, struggled a bit with his shot at times, but was feeling it in the first quarter. Him getting the free throw line also helped in that comeback to stop the clock and get some easy points for the Bulls. And then Coby White, I really hope we're not seeing the typical regression or inconsistent play from someone like Coby White. I'm going to say it has more to do with how defenses are playing him now. Like, teams are forced to pay more attention to him, and you see that with the double teams and guys hounding him on the perimeter more than they ever have before, and it's why you see his shots not falling as much. They're forcing Coby to drive instead of shooting it, which Coby is still good in his ability to get to the hoop and finish, but because he's smaller, he's more vulnerable to getting rejected at the rim or forced off the dribble in a more difficult shot. And for Coby White, 16 points, 5 for 19 shooting, 2 for 6 from 3, only 2 assists, a -24. Brutal game for Coby White, although it was nice to finally see him knock down a couple threes. The first one that he made was a big one because it finally put the Bulls back in the lead, and the United Center was lit when that happened. Oh, and I almost forgot about Dosunmu because Ayo has continued to be another positive in this season, especially when it comes to young talent for the future. Ayo got a significant amount of minutes with Drummond being in foul trouble and the Bulls having to go small. 15 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 7 for 15 shooting. Great hustle, great effort from Ayo, and stepping up big while the Bulls have been shorthanded. And then the final thing I'll say, the biggest problem the Bulls ran into wasn't necessarily Tyrese Halliburton, who had an insane game with 20 assists on 0 turnovers, but it was the math problem we often talk about. The Bulls, not only did they take so many fewer threes than the Pacers did, but they simply could not convert on those threes, shooting just 7 for 27 from deep, while the Pacers shot 19 for 42 from 3, nearly tripling the number of threes the Bulls made in this game. And that was really the difference maker in this one. The Pacers got cold for a while, but didn't stay cold for long, and you had to think that was going to be the case. But anyway, the Bulls fall, it's on to the next, their last game of 2023 against the Sixers, who may be without Joel Embiid, which could be nice considering the Bulls are without Vucevic, but we'll wait to hear on the latest for that. Vucevic has been sidelined for 7 to 10 days. Obviously, that timeline continues to be fluid. Hopefully, he will not be out for long. But until then, guys, as always, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.